right, and we are back and ready to start Tuesday's math lesson. So today we are going to learn about another type of graph. And this type of graph is a picture graph. So a picture graph, let me show you a couple of examples here, are exactly what it sounds like. They use these little pictures. So in this one, there's a smiley face, and this one, there are flowers to represent the amount. So if you want to say that there are so many kids with a birthday on a Monday, they use these smiley faces to show you how many by using a picture. Now, here's where it can be a little tricky. Your picture can be worth different amounts. So if you look on your graphs, like this one says each smiley face is worth one child, but if I look over here, it says each flower is worth two. So you're always going to want to look and make sure. If there is nothing there, you can assume that it is just worth one. Okay? So let's look and walk through a couple examples before you begin your assignment for today on picture graphs. So here is how we're going to make a picture graph. So again, we're going to start with a table, just like we did yesterday on our bar graph. And the kids voted on their favorite season in this table. So here we see 4 voted for spring, 10 voted for summer, 6 voted for fall, and 2 voted for winter. And on my picture graph, it tells me that each little stick figure equals 1 vote. So as I take care of my picture graph, when I go to spring, I need 4 little stick figures. So this is going to be my picture for spring. Okay, and then summer, I need 5. So that means these are 5, and this is another 5 for a total of 10. So I'm going to need 10 of these little stick figure guys. Oops, 10. The important thing on these picture graphs to remember is that they do not have to be perfect pictures, okay? Because you're drawing a lot of them. So just a quick picture. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 kids voting for summer. Fall got 6 votes. So that means I'm going to draw 6 little stick figures. 3, 4, 5, and 6. And the last one, winter, got 2 votes. So we're going to draw 2 little stick figures. So this is an example of how to draw a picture graph, okay? Again, on your assignment today, you're not going to be drawing any graphs because you're submitting your assignment on Schoology. But I do want you to understand how these graphs came about. They took the data, took the answers that they got, and they converted it into what looks like a picture graph. Okay? So let's look at a picture graph that's already been put together. And now let's talk about some questions that we can answer. We can answer the same questions that we did on our bar graph with our picture graphs. So this particular picture graph says favorite type of book. So the students voted. We see each book is worth 1 vote, and their choices were biography, adventure, science, or mystery. So here's my question. How many students like biography books? So I'm going to take a look here. I'm going to find the matching book type, biography, and I'm going to count up my books. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there are 7 students that like the biography book type. All I did was take a look at the pictures that were there and count them up. Seem pretty simple? Let's try another one. How about how many students like science? So you take a look down there. How many books do you count under science or beside science? Let's see if your answer and my answer matches. So here's science. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 students that chose science books as their favorite type of book. Very good. All right, now let's look at a different question. How many more students picked mystery than adventure? So this is where our question gets a little more complicated. We have to look at two different book types and compare those numbers. So it says, how many more picked mystery than picked adventure? So let's first find out what my numbers are here. So adventure has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books. And mystery has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 books. So I can turn these into a subtraction problem because I want to know how many more is 9 than this number 5. So I can do 9 minus 5 to find my answer. Now, if that's a fact that I'm not very comfortable with, then I can find another way to do it. And that on here is I would match up my pictures. So there's the same. These are the same. Again, the same. The same. The same. Now I ran out of books to compare, so I'm going to count my leftover books. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 books more on that 9 than there are on the 5. So 9 minus 5 is 4. So there are 4 more students who like mystery than like adventure books. Okay, let's take a look at another problem type on this graph. How many students voted? So remember, yesterday when we worked our bar graph, the way that we did this is we just took all of the totals and added them up. We're going to do the same thing on the picture graph today. So we need to find out how many like each of these, and then we're just going to add up those numbers. So let's see, how many students picked biography? If you said 7, you're right. So we have 7 there. How many picked adventure again? 5. How many picked science? 4. And then how many picked mystery? 9. Good job. So now I'm going to add these numbers up, and that's going to tell me how many voted in all. All right, well, let's see. 7 plus 5, that makes it 12. And 4 plus 9, that makes it 13. And now I've got 12 and 13 to add up. So 2 plus 3 is 5, and 1 plus 1 makes 2. So I think 25 students voted in all. Here's a way to check yourself. Count up all the books. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. 25 students voted. Remember, don't count this book down at the bottom. This book at the bottom is just telling you that each book equals 1 vote. All right? Okay, so now let's take a look at a different type of graph. Now this graph, you're going to notice is a little different. And at the bottom here, I don't know if you can see that really well on this video, but it says each pencil is going to equal 2 students. So that means when I have a whole pencil, that's 2. So if I look at the red, 2, 4, 6. If I look at the yellow pencils, 2, 4, 6, and it's got a half of 1. So that's only going to be 1, because if I cut that pencil in half, one of them are gone. So 2, 4, 6, 1 more makes 7. 2, 4, 1 more makes 5. 2, 1 more makes 3. Right? So let's look at some questions about this graph. How many children like math? So these kids have voted for their favorite subjects. I'm going to find math over here. So math is my red pencils. It's right here at the top. How many children like math? So count by 2s. How many like math? 2, 4, 6. 6 is our answer. How many children like social studies? So social studies is represented by my blue pencils here. So count them up. 2, and remember, it's a half of a pencil. If each pencil equals 2 and you cut it in half, you only have 1. So 2 and 1 more makes 3. So 3 students voted for social studies. 6 students voted for math. Okay, let's look at some comparing questions now here. And let's see what we get for an answer. Oh, sorry. My eraser did something crazy. All right, how many more children like reading than math? So let me find those 2 areas here. Reading, math. So reading has 2, 4, 6, and a half of a pencil, which means it has 7. Math has 2, 4, 6. So how many more like reading than like math? So if I take a look at this chart here, I see that the 7 is bigger, so I'm going to do 7 minus 6 to find my answer, or I can compare, remember. So these 2 pencils are the same, the same, the same, and there's my leftover little half, which means I have 1. One more child chose reading over math. Okay? How about what subject got 1 more vote than science? So let's find science here. Here's science. Which subject got 1 more vote? Well, first I have to figure out how many votes science got. So I have 2, 4, 1 more makes 5. Well, what's 1 more than 5? 1 more than 5 is 6. So I'm looking for the subject that got 6 votes. See if you see pencils that equal 6. Did you find them? Those red pencils, 2, 4, 6. Okay, now hold on because that wasn't my answer. What subject got 1 more vote than science? Well, science got 5, and what subject got 6? That subject is math. So my answer would be math is the subject that got 1 more vote than science did. Okay? Now, here is a totally different graph. And the reason I wanted to bring this graph up is because this has a different picture. So if you look, each green apple is 10 apples. Each half of an apple makes 5. So if you think about that, when you have 10 and you split it in half, you have 5. So that's why each half is worth 5. So if we take a look at this chart, it tells me the apples that were sold in these months. So January, February, March, April. And it looks like January sold 1 green apple, which remember, that green apple equals 10. So instead of just saying they only sold 1, they actually sold 10. So February has all of these apples. So I'm going to have to count them by 10. 10, 20, 30, 40. March has these 2, 10, 20, plus half, which remember was 5. So 10, 20, 25. And then 2 more whole apples. 10, 20. So let's see if we can answer some questions about this graph now. How many apples were sold in February? So take a look at February and recount those apples. How many apples were sold in February? If you said 40, you're right. Because remember, we don't count them 1, 2, 3, 4. Each apple is worth 10. So we would count this 10, 20, 30, 40. So February sold 40 apples. Let's take a look at a different question. How many apples were sold in January and April? So I'm going to have to combine 2 months. January and April. So let's look at January. January has 1 lonely apple, but does that mean 1? No, it means 10, right? So there's 10 in January, and April had 10, 20. So it asked me January and April, which means I'm going to have to take my 10 and add to it these apples that are down here. So I can write the problem as 10 plus 20. 0 plus 0 is 0. 1 plus 2 is 3. So there are 30 apples. Or you can count it and check yourself. 10, 20, 30. So 30 apples were sold in January and in April. Okay. All right. So it is now your turn to do a little practice with these picture graphs. Remember, each picture is worth 1 unless it tells you on that graph that the picture has a different amount. Okay? So you are going to answer some questions about these different picture graphs that you see. If you have any trouble, please let your teacher know. Reach out, ask them questions. At the end of the week, we're going to be doing an assessment on these different types of graphs. So let me know if you have any questions. Have a good day, and I'll see you tomorrow for a new graph.